Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with another Reddit story for you. This first one comes from AITA and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for telling someone that I didn't want to babysit my girlfriend? 2 weeks ago, I went to a high school friend's wedding. He's never met my girlfriend, but still extended a +1 to me in case she would like to come since he knows of her. I didn't even bother mentioning the +1 to her because I know she wouldn't want to go. She knows nobody there except for one girl she met one time, Lily, and Lily's boyfriend. The rest of the guest list was just the bride and groom's family plus a bunch of high school friends. Anyway, the wedding rolls around and I go. Lily asked me where my girlfriend is and why she didn't come. I said I didn't want to babysit. I meant it as a joke, as in if she had come, she would be glued to me the entire time as there was nobody else there that she knew. I mentioned it to my girlfriend in passing today, and she was visibly upset when I told her that I said that to Lily. She said it makes her look bad. She also said I should have told her about the invite. I asked her if she would have even gone, and she said no. I said, what's the point then? Am I the astronaut for telling Lily that I didn't want to babysit my girlfriend at a wedding where she didn't even know anybody? Edit! Hang on, you know what? Before that edit, what do y'all think now? What do you think? We got some Ask On 1s, Ask On 2s dropping up here. You know what? At least he communicated it to her and told her that he said it, and he meant it as a joke, but she obviously didn't appreciate it. Why wouldn't he tell her before the wedding, though? Like, what? I'm confused about this. If they are, seriously dating, and it is seriously dating, right? It's girlfriend. We don't know how serious they are, but if they were seriously dating, I feel like if you're going to go to a wedding, the person that you're seriously dating is probably going to know about it before you go. So it kind of feels like he hid that from her so that she wouldn't find out because he didn't want to have to mess with the whole conversation about her not going and then mentioned it after the fact when nothing could happen about it. I still don't know why he would have brought this up. I don't understand. If he didn't mention the wedding before he went, why would he mention it after? Could have done it better. Edit! Thank you, everyone, for all the comments telling me how big of an asshole I am. I needed it. I took my girlfriend out for brunch, had a good talk, and I apologized. I told her going forward, I will extend all invitations to her and be careful of saying things that paint her in a bad light. She's an amazing woman, and what I said was not cool at all. She accepted my apology, and we are good now. To clarify a few things, we've been dating for a few years. No, we aren't breaking up over this. Yes, we both love each other. She has accompanied me to numerous weddings. I don't force her to always stay at home. I was not trying to meet an old high school girlfriend. The groom invited only male friends from high school, so it was me hanging around my old crew, no girls. The groom isn't going to invite high school girlfriends to his wedding. I truly didn't mean to hurt my girlfriend, but I did, and I accept that what I did was wrong. Thank you. Okay, so he's owned up to it, at least. Hatter dropping the $10 super says, I invite my boyfriend to my family weddings, even though he does not know anyone because I love spending time with him. It sounded like he would rather go alone than spend time with her at the wedding. I think you're onto something here, Hatter. I think he chose his bros over his girlfriend. This was an opportunity to hang out with his bro crew, right? He wanted to hang out with the boys. That seems a lot more like what this was about and why he didn't mention it, even though she said she would have said no, but she has gone to others. Here's what I feel like he should have done differently. Yeah, I mean, he's an asshole for joking around about it. He's an asshole for not mentioning it before the wedding and mentioning it afterwards, which is just like salt in the wound. So I don't know. Like he's laughing right at her. I feel like what he should have done in his position is be like, hey, there's this wedding coming up. There's a +1. I know you typically don't love going to these things, and it's your choice. I'm never going to force you to go, but I would love to have you there. I would love to show you off to all my friends. I would like for my buddies from high school to get to know the woman that I love and that I'm probably going to spend the rest of my life with. Could have turned this into a really positive scenario, but instead he took the L and just chose poorly, at least owned it after the fact, made up for it, and they're gonna be okay. So there's something to be said about that. Now, I know that the Ask On ratings are a little bit all over the place. What do you think now after he's owned up to it? Candy Thunder. Oh my God, it's Candy Thunder. Looking very, very Alexis today. She's got her Alexis vibe going on here.
I think that I would have no problem with you wanting to go to a wedding by yourself to hang out with your guys, but I would have a problem with you saying that you had to babysit me if I came with you. That's the offensive part. So
why would he tell her that he said that? That's a brozo moment, right?
I don't know. Like he was just like, maybe he thought it was funny and like it was like he thought it was a joke, but obviously like you can say whatever you want as a joke. Someone has every right to take offense to what you said. So maybe he meant it, like more truth is said in jest. So maybe I don't know. He should just not have said this to people that she didn't know, because they don't know her, and if it was a joke, they didn't get the joke. It just made her sound clingy and needy and whatever.
Shouldn't have said it, but definitely shouldn't have said it, like repeated it to her. Hey, listen to this joke that I think I might be the asshole about. You tell me.
It's definitely, he just like, and I say that, like, I would like tell you all of the conversations I had if you're not there, because I just like, I talk really fast and I like word vomit. And it just comes out of my mouth. And so, like, if I said something that I thought was funny, but it offended you, then I should apologize for what I said. And he did. So I think that means he didn't mean to hurt her. He wasn't, I don't think he was trying to be mean, but it came across that way.
Yeah. So
but he corrected it. This is an all-around good story.
Yeah, he brozoed. But I think he walked that brozo moment back. And Aunt Sue, you had a comment on there that was what? Ask on 3 for not communicating ahead of the wedding, and ask on 2.
For sure.
For the stupid comment, especially saying that to her. Like, why would you just insert sock into mouth?
Then he course corrected and made it right. But yeah, I agree. If you want to go to a wedding and like have fun with your friends, and you know that your girlfriend is not really into like it makes her uncomfortable like being there and not knowing people, then just say that, because I would not take offense to that. I wouldn't take offense if you went to a wedding. I'd be like, see ya.
But that wouldn't happen.
I'm gonna stay home alone by myself.
So what we would do is what we have done, and that's go to a wedding together, end up at a table alone, because we feed each other's like anti-socialism. Because we enjoy each other's company more than we enjoy anybody else's, and that's okay. I think
we're just socially.
There would not be a scenario where I would be like, hey, I would really like to go to this without you.
No, and I understand.
We're also married
that,
though, so.
But I think that's normal. I think that's fine. That part doesn't bother me. But him not communicating what he wanted is what bothers me. So just say what you mean and mean what you say.
Right.
And don't make jokes at your girlfriend's expense.
Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another AITA story for you. This one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Not Wanting My Husband to Go to His Ex's Funeral? I mean, there are things you get, okay. I'll admit I'm biased right off the bat. I couldn't stand her. I call her his ex to myself and others. He called her his friend. We're all in our early 40s. She died recently, aneurysm. I've been with him for 10 years now, but he'd known her for 20 plus. The way he tells it, they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, and then realized they weren't a great couple and just decided to be friends. All that happened years before I met him. He was clear early on that she was important. A couple months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife. He explained the above to me, saying that she was one of his closest friends and that it was purely platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to an ex, and he told me, that's fine. If you have a serious issue with it, let me know and save us some time. I'll choose her. I like you and all, but I've known her for over 12 years, and she is one of the most important people in my life. You'll have to be okay with that if you want us to be a thing. Hey, well, by the way, pausing right here, because for him to be able to communicate this up front and be like, hey, this is an important person in my life, and if you have a problem with that, I'd rather know right now. Like pre-communication here, I'm giving him this. And yes, we have an opportunity to use the green flag for hubby here, who up front, I mean, I lowered it so you can actually see my face when this happens. Up front, it was a few months into dating whenever she found that out, and I understand his apprehension for not revealing that until they're a few months in and a little bit more serious, but he pre-communicated it and made sure to create a boundary with it too. So green flags for him. Way to go. When we were engaged, I asked again. He gave me this perplexed look and asked, why would us getting married affect my friendships? I sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social. She understood some part of him that I couldn't. Her husband was friends with mine as well, so it's not like I could use him as an angle. Wait a second. Use him as an angle? OP. What do you mean use him as an angle? Like try to be friends with him to show your husband how wrong it was? I think you're thinking about this in a very insecure way already. He'd have lunch with the ex, they'd go to their geeky movies and whatever. The few times I brought it up, he said, we've had this conversation before, you had your chance to back out. She died after they had lunch the other day on the way to her car. He spent a bunch of time crying, but honestly, I was relieved. Okay, red flags for you, lady. He was working with her husband on funeral planning. I told him, you don't think you're going, do you? Okay. I need to create like a continuous red flags button here, apparently. My argument summed up, she's dead and she's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use his she's my friend excuse since she doesn't exist anymore. He had his cry for a couple of days. He gets to be done with mourning her already. There's no need for him to go to her funeral since I wouldn't want her at his. He was the angriest I've ever seen him when I told him that, replying that he'll be going no matter how I feel and that he's willing to burn this to the ground while holding up his wedding band. Besides you, she was the closest friend of my life. Him, her husband, and my sisters are calling me an insensitive asshole over this, all saying that there was no romantic aspect to the relationship and that I'm heartless. Her husband went so far as calling me a ghoul for how I reacted. Oh, you reached asshole level ghoul. That's new. I never felt their relationship was appropriate, and I hid that for many years because I wanted to be with my husband. Now that she's gone, I don't feel that I should have to hide it anymore and can speak freely. Am I the astronaut for just wanting him to be done with her and for him to not attend the funeral? Yes, you are a piece of human dog shit. Your insecurity has taken over every decision-making power that you have, and you are reacting out of fear. And you saying I've hidden it for this long, I shouldn't have to anymore, is bullshit. You know what's funny about this is that you waited until this moment to create a big stink, but couldn't wait another week to do this after the funeral. You waited this long. Why would you let it go now instead of waiting till after the funeral? If you waited till after the funeral, he'd be mourning her privately. There wouldn't be any kind of thing that he needed to go to that involved her. You took a stand right here to stir the pot, to create drama, to force him to make a choice. Because you thought somewhere in your little birdseed brain that you thought that finally he'll choose me. He was clear about this from, I'm not going to say day one, from month 2. He's been clear about this from really early on. She was an important person in his life. They mutually decided to not be married anymore because they weren't compatible as a romantic couple. They were just best friends, and they've been best friends since. And this is not new information. Being jealous because there's some part of him that she understands that you never will, then you have to apply that same jealousy to every male bestie he has as well. It doesn't work like that. You are just insecure. Your insecurity is driving the boat here. Your problems internally are what's causing this to happen. Your insecurity is going to cause this marriage to crumble, and you are going to be alone. You are a self-fulfilling prophecy. Wow. You are a ghoul. Shit. How can you not see this? How can you not feel it? How can you not detect that this might be a you problem? And how could you go through all of this, think these things, say these things out loud, get the responses that you get, and never once think, man, you know what? Maybe I should be in therapy. Maybe I need to talk to somebody about this because it feels wrong in here. It feels wrong. You get the Ask on One special. Of course. Of course. I've never been so sure about anything in my life. You also get the Bizzo. You also get the Delulu. You also get the DFHB thumbs down. If I had more buttons, I would use them on you because you're honestly just the worst. You're the worst. You're the worst. You don't deserve to be in this marriage anymore. You don't deserve to have affection from this man anymore. You're destroying your own life now by letting your insecurity take over. The root issue is not your husband. Something happened way back. Something happened way back that makes you this insecure, that makes you act the way that you act. I'm sure you've been burned in the past. I'm sure that you've been cheated on or you've been left or whatever it was. You are now punishing everyone else in your life because of that. And you've been torturing yourself this whole time. Choose your pain. Going and talking to somebody about it is going to be an intense amount of pain for a short amount of time. But right now you are living daily pain with this insecurity and are going to be for the rest of your life until you get it fixed. Or at least get a grip on it so that it doesn't lash out and destroy your life for you. Fuck, Aaron! Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with a cake story for you. This one is from the Dusty Thunder subreddit, so you know it's going to be awesome. And it is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Taking My Cake Home With Me? Hey fam, I meant to post this a while ago, but it recently came back up, so it reminded me to post it again. There are 4 of us who go out often. Myself, 30 female, Mike, 32 male, Sally, 29 female, and Tyler, 29 male. About 2 months ago, we went out to celebrate Mike's new job. After dinner, everyone decided to order desserts, and I got a lemon pound cake with blueberry cream cheese icing. It was so good. I still think about that cake, lol. It was so amazing that I ordered myself a second piece to have within the next few days. The waitress brought over my piece to go and the tablet so we could split our bill and cash out. She let me know that this was the last piece and is unsure when they will have that again. They have different desserts daily. Their POS makes it easy to split bills because she rings in all the orders by seats, so she just selects the seat and cashes us out. Mike ended up telling the waitress earlier that he was picking up everyone's tab as a surprise. It was sweet of him, but not expected since we were out celebrating him. Everything was great. We were sitting there finishing our drinks and Mike grabbed my to-go container with the cake in it. I asked him what he was doing and he said he was going to take a bite. I told him I would prefer him not to because that's my cake and I wanted to save it. His argument was that he paid for the cake, so it was his. I told him that I was not expecting him to pick up my bill, and had I known from the beginning, I would have put it on a separate tab. Had it not been the last piece, I would have bought another piece and given him that one. But that was not an option. Right there, I cash apped him $50 for my meal and dessert and told him his money had been reimbursed to him and that it was no longer his cake. Unfortunately, it kind of ruined the mood, and we left very soon after. Fast forward to this last weekend, we were all out at the lake and I brought a cake. It was a coconut cream with pineapple on top, just in case you're wondering. Coconut cream is like top 5. Top 5 for sure. Tyler came up to me and was poking fun, saying things like, "What do I owe you? I want to make sure I buy my slice." Mike got mad and said that we were all assholes because it was just cake and we needed to get over it. But, as we all know, it's never just cake. Dusty, if you read this, I know you don't really like lemon cake, but just imagine someone taking the last piece of dirt cake. Props to you for that. Props to you for that. So fam, am I the astronaut for wanting to take my cake home with me? Hell no. Hell no. And here's the line I would have used in the very, very beginning. My understanding in the beginning of this was that I was purchasing my own cake. I made the commitment to buy this cake. This cake is not for sale. It's not for sale. He made the offer to pick up everybody's tab. He did not make the offer conditionally upon getting everyone's food. He didn't make this offer conditionally or communicate ahead of time that he had the option of taking people's food or bites of people's food because he was picking up the tab. That is the douchiest thing I have ever heard. Because I picked up the tab, that means I get to take bites of whatever I want. Okay. Yeah, way to do something chivalrous and then turn it into something incredibly douchey. I'm giving him this. He disrespected the cake. It is never just cake. It's funny now that when people poke fun at it, he gets upset. You know why he gets upset, right? Because he knows he was wrong and he's embarrassed about it. That's when he says, "You guys, it's just cake. You guys need to get over it." That's him. That's him trying to move past it as quickly as possible because he knows he's wrong, yet hasn't apologized for anything. But I'm sure he feels like a big douche. I'm sure he does. Joey doesn't share food. I don't share cake. Hell no. Especially after, oh my gosh, it makes it worse. I'm gonna pull the scale up here because we got to talk about this for a second. You are NTA. We've covered that. Your buddy Mike pulling this shit after they said this is the last piece and we're not sure when we're gonna have it back for a while. Then he's like, I want to try something. I bought it. I get to do that. That makes it worse. Yes, he had FOMO, but guess what? Picking up the tab does not give you immediate access. It does not give you ownership of all the food. And acting like it does is a real dick move. So I would keep giving him a hard time about it until he sucks it up and apologizes. I would. Or next time y'all go out, communicate with the server ahead of time, make sure you're picking up the tab, and as soon as they put his plate on the table, start cutting into it and taking bites. Be like, "Oh, I already told her I'm paying for everything, so this food, this mine," in the words of Navy Thunder, this mine. And he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm picking up the tab. I own that food." "Oh, you don't like that? Interesting. Well, don't worry, on your to-go box, we're going to write dick real big so you know it's yours." Ladies and gentlemen, it's Dusty Thunder here with one of these for you. A spicy story. And just to clarify, by spicy, no, we do not mean risque. This is not going to get into talking about penetration or anything like that, so sorry to disappoint you. Spicy means dramatic in our world. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, title of this story from AITA is Am I the Astronaut for Letting You Know I Am Divorcing You by Sending You a Thread on a Website That You Use to Ignore Me? Hi, Stefan. Maybe you will finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything in the car and left. Don't worry, I've spoken with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you'll act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down for you in a language you understand. I, 29 female, have been married to my husband, 35 male, for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. On paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my mother-in-law has been a nightmare. She made everything about her from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering right in front of everybody. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. It didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like the cheap costume jewelry. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home. This bitch sounds special. But every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women's boobs on Reddit than talking to me, literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10, they were a 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do that, but can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me, but he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic buddy at the end of his sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans. The house, the dishes, laundry, you name it, it's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My mother-in-law started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft. When I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence on our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he just laughed it off, saying his mother means well and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future childcare and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid, said I should get over it, because his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life, whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest thing, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in, a place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Oh, and did I mention that he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. Turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. Her fucking Wi-Fi. He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stand in his life. So I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. Hello, let's hear more about those. So, Stefan, I wish you all the best in your future marriage with your mother and the women of Reddit whose boobs you don't even deserve. Am I the asshole for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years, to let his mother mistreat me and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? Tiny update. Stefan has seen the post. He is mad that apparently one of you found him based on the rate my boobs thing. He has deleted his account. For any purposes, I want to clarify that I left I left out any actual incriminating information that could lead to doxing him. Any and all people who are pretending to know me or have any incriminating information about me are lying. I am not from South Carolina. I'm not moving in with any other guy, and I'm not sleeping around. Well, holy shit, buddy. You done fucked up. And you know what? We're going to get somebody up here to talk about it. The one, the only, the spicy story expert herself, Candy Thunder.
Spicy story.
Spicy tater time.
Is rate my boobs a thing?
Apparently. And you know what? If it exists for boobs, you know it exists for like feet and all kinds of crazy crap too. What'd you say, Tony Spark?
I did not think you were going to say feet.
What did you think I was going to say? If it exists for boobs, you know it exists for
other things.
Like what?
I don't know. Did they plan to have a child? Because one, like, I think living with a mother-in-law that is this toxic, and I know that there are people in chat that have a mother-in-law like this in their life. We do not, so I can't. It's harder for me to like even think about having this much toxicity in my life all the time, and having you not be like, he is not your partner. He's not standing up for you. He's not doing anything that makes you feel loved and cherished. And like at that point in a relationship, if there is no like mutual respect, there isn't anything that he like. What is the point of staying in a relationship if you don't get anything out of it?
Well, he's getting something out of it. That's the point, though.
What is he getting?
He's getting. Well, he doesn't clean. He doesn't do anything. So she's doing all the things. Apparently, they're at least at one point we're having sex too. So he gets all of the like the home stuff taken care of, and he has his sexual needs covered, and all he has to do is work and around on Reddit, and he's all good.
Why do people stay in relationships like this? I don't like. I would not stay in a relationship where it's clear that I am not. Like, this is what leads to people like a breakdown in mental health, because like you expect something out of a relationship, you don't get that thing, and you're so like your needs are never met, and so you like self-doubt, like insecurities form. All of these things lead to negative behavior within yourself and the other person. So staying in a relationship like this is only going to hurt someone. It's most likely going to be yourself. So why in the do people stay in relationships like this? This makes no sense whatsoever in my mind. Like, I can't wrap my brain around something like this, because she had the means to leave if she was able to like the ultrasound was her final straw, and maybe it was having a kid and knowing that kid one day is going to be treated the way that she was treated.
Right.
That made her make that choice to leave.
We say that a lot. It's a lot easier to make a choice for your child than it is to make it for yourself. And that's finally where she was thinking ahead at the life her daughter is going to live in that environment is what did it.
Right.
That's what did it for her.
Here's a Shuri. X has
Shuri, yeah.
He was probably amazing at the beginning, but over time changed, and she just held out for that. Like someday he'll come back. Someday he'll be the person that I thought he was in the beginning. And I mean, but this, in my opinion, she is being abused by her husband and her mother-in-law. Like it seems like incompetence on his part, and the mother-in-law is just taking every jab she can get. And this is a toxic life for this woman, and I feel really, really bad for her. And I'm happy that she left, but leaving is not going to be as easy now that she has a child with this man. And if this was me, I would. One, he doesn't get to be there for the pregnancy. That's her thing. And when I have this baby, I would not be putting this person on the birth certificate. He can establish paternity.
Yeah. The problem for UOP is that there's likely, unless he does something extremely negligent, likely you're going to have some kind of legal arrangement where your husband still has access to your child, right? And being able to exclude mother-in-law from that is going to take some work and some documentation. But if you have documentation, you have these text messages already, then hopefully that's enough evidence to prevent at least mother-in-law from being around. But he's going to stink. Even if it's legally stated that she cannot be around the child, he's going to allow it. So there's going to have to be some kind of way to manage that, short of you just like ghosting, like disappearing, like witness protection kind of level shit. He's going to be involved at some point here, and that's going to be really, really tough for you. Damn. Just damn. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder once again with another Reddit story for you. This one is from AITA and is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Telling My Best Friend She Should Call Off Her Wedding? Throwaway, names are fake. I, 27 female, have a best friend, Daisy, 27 female, who is getting married in about a month and a half to Max, 29 male. They've been together for 3 years and are really perfect together. I was super supportive of their wedding until recently. About a week ago, Daisy had her bachelorette party. She didn't want to do anything crazy, so just the closest girlfriends went to a small vineyard for a nice dinner, and it was during this dinner that she dropped the bomb. She made a big show of pouring everyone a glass of the house red except for herself, and took a huge sip of her water. She was smiling at all of us, as if we were already in on the joke, but we weren't. But then, slowly, realization dawned, and she confirmed. She was pregnant. 2 months pregnant, to be exact. We were all happy for her, congratulating her, hugging, etc. Then someone made one of those jokes about them having to get married just because she's pregnant, and she got all mischievous again. She then revealed that Max doesn't know and that it was going to be a surprise. The reaction to this was mostly positive, which dumbfounded me. Max and Daisy have always wanted kids. I even know they explicitly talked about it before deciding to get married, which is definitely the right thing to do. However, just because two people want kids doesn't mean one person can just make the decision of when is the right time. And that's exactly what I feel like Daisy is doing. I don't think you should marry someone when you're keeping something that massive secret. I have no idea how she managed to keep it secret for 2 months anyways, but according to her, they've been so busy with the wedding planning, it was easy to hide. And anything weird happening, like her vomiting, she just attributed to stress. I talked to Daisy the day after the party. I told her what I thought, and that I was just trying to look out for her, and that if it was the other way around, I would want her to do the same for me. She got really quiet while I was talking, and afterwards told me that she didn't appreciate me butting in on their marriage, and that it was her decision. I pointed out that it shouldn't just be her decision, and that she was majorly affecting Max's life too, without even including him in the conversation, and that she shouldn't go through with the wedding if she was insistent on keeping him in the dark. This pissed her off, and she told me to leave and not contact her. Since then, I've gotten some messages from our friends who were at the party, so I guess she told them. A couple of them agree with me, but most of them are on her side and are calling me an asshole for ruining what's supposed to be the most exciting time in Daisy's life and what gives me the right, etc. I don't regret speaking up, but I'm worried that I might have ruined our friendship, and I'm not sure I'll still be allowed to come to the wedding. Did I maybe overstep? No. I mean, not for me. For me, trying to offer your bestie your opinion, and I think that's the key word here is bestie for me. I think if it's really your bestie, like you have an unfiltered line of communication between you, right? And whenever you see your bestie really up, you pipe up and you're like, hey, I think you might be really up. And that's what she's trying to do here. She's not saying that they shouldn't get, well, she is saying that she should call off the wedding, but the moral of the story for OP's flag here is that she thinks she needs to tell the truth to her husband before they get married. Keeping some big secret and then getting married. Yes, I mean, when you begin your marriage, if you begin it with a lie, you are beginning it on a foundation of lies, and that's never a good thing. Like, trust needs to be 100%. Now, they both want kids. Like, what's the worst that could happen if she does keep it a secret? If they both want kids, it's highly unlikely that they're going to get married. He's going to find out, and he's going to be like, you bitch, you didn't tell me. I want out. Because this is something they already talked about. But I would want to know. I mean, I would want to know. And yes, Bestie did not tell the fiance. Bestie just had opposition to her bestie, the bride-to-be, who is now preggers and is saying, you need to tell him. You need to tell him before the wedding, like it's the right thing to do. And Prager's bestie, bride-to-be here, is like, no, you're ruining my time. Get out. So I feel like the burden of the bestie is to speak up and say things like this. You also got to understand that there's possibly some pregnancy hormones at play here too. So your bestie might have lashed out the way she did because of that. And maybe after the fact here, we'll cool down and we'll be like, hey, let's talk this out. But with all the adrenaline running of wedding planning and the baby and everything, it might just get worse. So I don't know. Just because you talked about it doesn't mean timing isn't important. That's true. That is absolutely true. So maybe bestie Prager's bride-to-be here is worried that if she says something now, he'll want to punt the wedding to next year or some other time. Maybe that's why she's not. There's a reason, and I think that reason is more than just keeping it a surprise. I think she's got some kind of fear driving this decision, and maybe OP having that conversation and being like, hey, what Like, why wouldn't you tell him? Let's have a real adult conversation about this and really try to get to the bottom of it. Maybe that's your charge as the bestie, to try to figure out what's really going on here, because it feels like there's more than just what's on the surface. Is he the father? I can't understand why you wouldn't tell him, Candy Thunder says. Oh shit, didn't think about that. She's just trapping him? Oh no. That's no bueno. Maybe it's a miscarriage issue and she didn't want to tell. Well, but you know, a lot of times if she's afraid of a miscarriage, she wouldn't speak up to anybody until a certain point when she felt comfortable, right? But she's telling her girlies. So I don't think that's it. Maybe it is. But there's something there. Yeah. I don't think it's I think the charge here is not to call off the wedding. It is to have the conversation. Talk. Tell him about it. It's an NTA for me. In what I understand of your dynamic, and I do think that she's pumped up right now, and that hopefully it may be years before she regrets blowing up at you the way she did, and she understands where you were coming from, and she may have too much pride to walk that back and say, hey, I'm sorry, let's talk. So it may be done. You may not be invited to the wedding. You probably won't be if she still hasn't told him by then, because she'll be afraid that you will tell him before the wedding or during the wedding. So just be prepared for that, but I still think you did the right thing here. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another Reddit story for you from AITA. This one is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Donating My Son's Entire Toy Collection to Charity Because He Refused to Clean His Room? Oh, damn. I, 38 male, have a 10-year-old son, Jamie, who has been struggling with keeping his room clean. I've asked him repeatedly to tidy up, and every time I end up doing it myself or giving him a reminder. Last week, after another round of nagging and zero results, I decided to take a more drastic approach. I told Jamie that if he didn't clean his room by the end of the week, I would donate his toys to charity. Of course, he didn't take me seriously and continued to leave his room in a mess. When the deadline passed, I followed through and donated his entire toy collection to a local children's charity. Jamie was devastated when he found out. He cried and begged me to get the toys back, but I explained that the toys were already gone and that he should learn a lesson about responsibility. My wife is furious with me and says I was too harsh. Well, that's a problem. She argues that it was unnecessary to donate all of his toys and that he should have been given another chance. I understand my wife's point, but I also think that Jamie needed a wake-up call. He's been getting away with ignoring chores for too long, and I wanted to show him that there are real consequences for his actions. Plus, the charity will benefit from the toys and the other kids will get joy from them. Now, my wife is considering talking to a family therapist about this, and Jamie is obviously upset. I'm beginning to wonder if I was too extreme. You're beginning to wonder. Well, that's good. Am I the astronaut for donating my son's toys to charity because he refused to clean his room? He's 10. He's 10, which means a lot of the toys that this kid had were probably not like little rinker-dinker things. There was probably a lot invested in those. The toys that he chose to keep were probably pretty meaningful. Wanting to create some pain to cause change is one thing. I think you overshot this one, OP, by like 10 miles. I think you overshot this one. And the fact that you did this without your wife on board is what turns it to a 1. I'm going to go ahead and make the decision right now. This turns it to a 1 because you did it without your wife on board. If you guys had done this as a unified front, number 1, if you had this conversation with your wife, you wouldn't have made this dumb of a mistake. You would have figured out something that was a middle ground. You would have figured out a way that would create some perceived pain at the very minimum without causing your family a lot of financial pain, because you know you're going to end up rebuying this shit. You know your wife is going to go rebuy a lot of this shit. You done shot yourself in the foot. That's all you've accomplished here. And you made yourself the villain of the family. Now it is mom and him v you, because you moved against both of them. If you had the foresight to have a conversation with your wife, which, by the way, when you're considering some kind of drastic action here, I think you have to talk to your partner and make sure that you guys are on the same page about this, because open opposition to your parenting in front of your child is probably the worst thing that can happen here. And that's why it turns into the two of them versus you moving forward, because you put yourself in that position. Look, dude, you could have picked out one thing and donated it. You could have put one section of things in a box in storage, said you were going to throw them away, and thrown an empty box away. He went for the jugular. You're not trying to create pain at this point. You're trying to create I mean, what's worse than pain? You're creating life-altering pain here. You're creating like trauma. Yeah, coming home to an empty room is probably a traumatic event for a 10-year-old. And now it's going to cause all kinds of ripple effects and issues later down the road. Like the damage that you've caused here, you're going to be feeling for a long time. And I feel like you've caused yourself and your family, your entire family unit, a whole lot of pain that is going to take you a long, long time to live down if you ever do it. Yeah, it was a big screw up, man. I understand you're wanting to create some pain to create change, but there's incremental, right? I mean, just one toy that he really, really likes, or what's the thing he plays with most right now? That's the one to go, right? You don't have to take everything. You don't have to be this drastic. And the fact that you did it without your wife's consent just makes it that much worse. Hey there, it's Dusty Thunder with yet another story for you from Reddit, from AITA, and it is titled, Am I the Astronaut for Asking My Wife to Stop Going on Her Annual Trip? My wife, early 30s female, loves to travel. I, early 30s male, do not. I don't hate it, but I find it stressful, and flying makes me incredibly anxious. My wife, on the other hand, has traveled all over the place, lived in multiple countries, and is always planning the next big adventure. This really hasn't been an issue for us. I do travel with my wife probably once or twice a year, usually staying a little closer to home. Otherwise, she travels with her family or friends. She always invites me on these trips, but I rarely go. While I miss having her around, it's a good arrangement. She gets to do something she loves, and I get some alone time to unwind at home. She'll send pictures, we FaceTime, and she usually brings me back some cool souvenirs. All of this to say, there's one trip she takes every year, and I'm starting to get uncomfortable about it. She goes, by herself, to the same place every year, and it's non-negotiable. When she's there, I hear from her way less than any other trip. She'll send pics, and we FaceTime, but less often. When she gets back, she'll give me snippets of information, but I don't get a full day-by-day rundown. This trip predates me. She first went to this place in college and has been back basically every year since. She's told me several times how much this place means to her, but my problems are as follows. The trip is non-negotiable. She's had a lot of trips change, get canceled, or not materialize, but this never does. I'm not invited. It feels secretive, like she doesn't want to share it. This place isn't exactly a tourist hotspot. It's not what you would think of as a vacation destination, and there aren't a lot of sights to see, even according to my wife. So why the need to go back 10 plus years in a row if there's not that much to do? The issue being that we have the money, we have the time off work, and we still have a great relationship outside of this. I even asked if I could accompany her sometimes, but she accused me, probably correctly, of only wanting to go to keep tabs on her because I, under any other circumstances, would have no interest in going to this place. So, according to her, it's either my insecurity or ego that's trying to keep her from her passion. I get where she's coming from, but it also seems crazy to me to be deliberately unwilling to include your spouse in something like this. No, she got it right. Well, you know what? IDFK still. I feel like she did get it right. It is your insecurity and ego that are at play here, and that's where the opposition comes from. Like you can't stand that you don't know, you can't stand that you don't have control of the situation, and that's a problem. But I think we also have to address the fact that she clings to this secret trip that she goes on as well. Now, what I'm imagining here is probably not what it is, but what I'm imagining is that she goes to this not well-known place because it's not touristy and not overcrowded with shit, and has like a week of just chill time. Maybe she writes or processes her life down there, but it's like her one solo meditative time. That's what I'm hoping it is. And if that were the case, this would kind of make sense. It's like, no, sorry, you don't get to go on this one. I go by myself. It's once a year. I wouldn't think she's going back once a year to see some fling dude that she met, 10 years ago. But it could be something like that. But I do think that everybody needs some alone time to fill up their cup. Once you become, a parent, that gets a lot more difficult for them as a childless couple. I think they have the option of doing a lot of that. And every time that she goes on a trip, he gets alone time because she's going with other people. This is the one thing she does herself. And maybe, OP, you need to look at that situation and be like, okay, whenever she goes, I get alone time. She never gets alone time. This is her only alone time. Why do I feel the need to control that? It is shady that she won't tell him. I mean, what is she not telling him, though? He gets snippets of information, but she's not as forthcoming with information as she would be with the other trips. And maybe that's because there's not that much to tell. Maybe it is a meditative kind of thing. Maybe it is a chill kind of thing. And the objective is to not have a lot going on. So there isn't a lot to convey. I don't know. Elise says I can usually find the good in people. This is suspicious to me too, though. Ashuri, everyone sucks here. He's a bit insecure, but she could tell him what it is if there's nothing to hide. Okay. I always forget about the everyone sucks here option, which is dumb of me because it's not always like one person is wrong when one person is right. It's usually everybody's a little bit wrong to some degree, right? I agree with you on this. I think it's an everyone sucks here because she understands she's accusing you of your insecurity or ego being at play here. And I think in a married couple, if Candy Thunder had an insecurity about something that I had planned to do, I would want to alleviate that as much as possible. And she's not. So she's maintaining the current secrecy, not that it's secrecy, but the level of secrecy that she has. She's clinging to that and saying he just wants to control her, basically. But she's right. It's his insecurity that is forcing him to feel the way that he is and act the way that he is. So, I don't know. Top funny comment. Okay, let's think about this. 1, she may be part of a secret ancient order of immortal knights who congregate every year at this specific place. Possible. 2, she has a secret family somehow, and they've had to move to another country as part of a convoluted witness protection strategy after she betrayed the local Italian mob. Also possible. 3, she's a sleeper agent who needs to check in with her superiors in person every year. You are her normie cover. Check under the floorboards for a safe with guns and fake passports. Maybe she's a former Nazi. Could be. 4, she cheats on you, but she's very respectful about it and only does it 1 week every year. It's like the purge, but for cheating. 5, she likes to travel solo, and just because a person is in a relationship doesn't mean they have to do literally everything with their partner, no matter how big or inconsequential it is. Yeah, also, you get alone time and she doesn't, so remember that. 6, she takes care of a weird alien creature who landed on Earth 10 plus years ago and goes to check in on it once a year. That's my leading possibility so far. 7, same thing as the sleeper agent hypothesis, but instead she's an alien and the mothership has crashed near her yearly destination. You're the asshole. Take your pick. Yeah, I like it. Yes, the alien options are definitely my leading probability things right now. But it could be anything, and I would feel uncomfortable. You know what? If this situation, Candy Thunder went to somewhere and communicated with me, but didn't offer me nearly the communication level that she does on other trips, I would feel uncomfortable. But I also feel like she would see that and would be very forthcoming to try to alleviate that discomfort. And I don't know. It isn't everyone sucks here. I think they're both. Hey, Dusty Thunder here, and I wanted to thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that content, and if you did, please make sure to like, subscribe, and most importantly, share. Also, you can find swag and so much more at dusty-thunder.com, and you'll find even more content on all of our platforms. We're on TikTok, YouTube. We now have an official Facebook page that we'll be posting stories to as well. We have podcasts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so much more. You can see all of our content platforms on Linktree, which is linked in my bio. Engage with us wherever you're enjoying content and do your best to avoid the Askonauts today. Thanks again.